the Fan3Cast, dishing out the hottest NASCAR news and views while celebrating the Three's historic comeback. Here are your hosts, Michael Metzger and Jason Schultz. We are back, ladies and gentlemen, for week 3, the third installment of the Fan3Cast. So, very three-centered podcast we have here.
And Austin Dillon had a great run in the number 3 over the weekend, so that's our lucky number for this show.
Except we're going to overlook the fact that he probably hit everything but the pace car out there at Daytona. But hey, he finished 10th, so I guess he did something right. So speaking of the Daytona 500, I think it should be called the Daytona 5000 based on the length of time it took to complete the race. What was that, Jason? Probably a shade over 9-10 hours in all?
Much longer than I think many people wanted to see, but we got a great race out of it at the end of the day, so I think that's something. We have to overlook the rain that really stretched the day out to see that we had a great race, and I know just everyone loved the whole race. The excitement was definitely there.
I really can't complain about the delay because I actually was scheduled for a family dinner right in the heart of the 500, so it worked out perfect. I got to see some racing. They took a break so I could eat, and then I could come back to the race without missing anything. It was like watching on DVR and hitting pause.
I have a friend who had to work during the race, and then he got to get home in time for the whole entire race, so he was pretty lucky, and that rain was definitely on his side too.
Although on the flip side, kind of like what you're saying, if it got delayed till Monday, they would have restarted the race at 5 o'clock, and lucky me, I was working second shift that night, so I would have missed it totally. So thank goodness they got it in on Sunday. And I will tell you, Jason, one thing I did notice from the first opening 30-some-odd laps to when they did go back to green was it turned into a sense of urgency with the drivers. I noticed at the beginning of the race, everyone was kind of content either being up front single file or drivers were in the back trying to avoid the big one, and everyone just kind of was riding around. But it seemed like with the unknowns of when the rain would show up again, that everyone kind of cranked it up a notch every single lap from about lap 40 until the end of the race.
And it provided some awesome racing with 2 and 3 wide they went about 100 laps, I think, around there with green flag runs and just double file, triple 3 wide racing, and it was just really great to see. And I know everyone was just on the edge of the seat, on the edge of their seat, because they knew anything could happen, and the drivers were doing that too. And a lot of people are saying that the drivers were really pushing it, and they really drove to their limit throughout the race because they knew if the rain came, they wanted to be in position to get a good finish in case that would happen. So that really created the urgency, like you mentioned, to get to the front and get to the front fast.
Listening to a couple different drivers during the course of the race and following on Twitter, it almost seemed like, well, everyone was trying to be a meteorologist that day, but everyone had conflicting reports. Some were saying that it was going to rain right away. Some were saying that nothing was going to happen. I guess that just adds to the sense of urgency and confusion, I guess.
I hope the fans didn't leave following the rain delay from Sunday to see the most popular driver, Dale Earnhardt Jr., take it to victory lane, his third one at Hendrick Motorsport, and his first since June of 2012. It was such great to see Earnhardt Jr. win. Not everyone is usually happy to see a driver win or see one particular driver win, but seeing how emotional Earnhardt Jr. was in victory lane, doing his Polish victory lap, he just seemed so happy, and I think that made everyone watching it really excited. And he was a great guy to win this race because everyone knows he deserves it, and he worked extremely hard. So I picked Junior to win, and I was really hoping to see him win and to see him pull it off, and all the emotion that came with it was just amazing to see.
Yeah, I didn't pick Junior to win the race, but I gotta agree with you. Just watching him react, especially like you said during the Polish victory lap, they had that camera on him. I've never seen a driver so happy before, or at least, outwardly showing how happy they are. It was really a special moment to witness, and it was interesting that he couldn't do more celebrations because of the debris field that was left behind in the final wreck.
And I think everyone can agree that it was much worth the wait to see how special that victory was.
Yeah, those final 10 laps, I was on the edge of my seat. My pulse was racing. I was trying to figure out, all right, is someone going to go with Junior? Are they going to go with Keselowski? Are they going to go with Hamlin? Is Johnson going to get up here? Where's Gordon going to end up? Where's the push? Could Biffle pull it off? It was intense, and I think it was a perfect ending, minus the wrecks.
And you could see a bunch of drivers really having a chance. They would either run up on Junior, Junior would block them, and Dale was doing a bunch of different things, and it really made for some exciting laps. When the piece of tape came up on his grill, I stopped breathing for a second because that was just another issue that could have affected his victory, but it seemed to work out in his favor in the end.
Yeah, I think if he ended up falling like second or behind someone, basically, I think it would have been more of an issue since he was out front. He could get enough airflow on the front of the car, but even if he did fall behind someone, I'm sure he wouldn't have stopped or anything to get rid of it because it's a Daytona 500. You're not going to screw up trying to win that.
Speaking of screwing things up, during the rains delay, Fox put on broadcast for last year's race without much indication that it was last year's race, so the casual fan tuning in may have thought that was a 500 right there. It wasn't just a few people doing it. There were a bunch of people doing it. You could see tweets on Twitter, people saying Jimmy Johnson didn't lead, Jimmy Johnson wins again, Danica Patrick leading a lap over Danica. You could see those people who were pretty clueless that that wasn't the actual race, that was from last year. And then the funniest part of all was at the end, Jimmy Johnson received congratulations tweet and text that he won the 500, even though he was sitting in his motorhome and it was raining at Daytona.
And it was funny to read, and I got to say, I was confused a little bit. As for mentioned dinner that I was at, I kept seeing out of the corner of my eye racing happening. I'm like, oh, they got it restarted. Then I was like, wait, Danica Patrick wasn't up front. Wait, Jeff Gordon wasn't up front. And so at least I could deduce that. It didn't hurt seeing Montoya out there because I'm like, he definitely was not out there when we started this race earlier. But yeah, that's a big goof. I don't know what Fox could do more other than maybe put 2013 Daytona 500 constantly on the screen someplace. I don't know, either that or pick one that's a little further behind than just last year.
And if people believe that that was the actual race, and we're talking to the casual fan here who doesn't usually watch every weekend, they tune into the 500 every year, and they see that race, the race ends, Jim Johnson wins, they don't tune in later, and that could be a factor that hurt the ratings, that some people didn't thought the race already occurred, so the ratings were farther down than you expected for the race on Sunday night. Yes, there was a rain delay that probably hurt it a little, but it even wasn't as popular as the 2012 Monday night race, but this one may have been a little bit different than that one, so but the ratings were overall down, and that was a little surprise to me.
I agree with you. It probably chased a lot of the casual fans that they would pick up away thinking that the race already happened. I think another factor would be just in the nobody really kind of knew when the race would happen. I know there was a lot of guesses out there prior to the official announcement that they would get rolling at about, I think it was 8:30 when they resumed. Again, going back to Joe Casual Fan, you're probably either thinking they're not getting it in for the day or you already watched it, so you kind of moved on to whatever else you wanted to watch or what else you're doing that day.
And those fans probably weren't waiting around all through the rain delay, so I think when that happens, when the rain affects the race, it really hurts viewership, and I would really like to see that a bunch of the ratings are always higher for this race, and it's just a bunch of people are watching that usually don't watch, and that gives us opportunity to get some new fans. When the rain hurts that always makes me a little sad, because I like to see the high ratings for the biggest race of the year.
Well, something that the fans that did tune in got to see was a brand new reincarnation of the leaderboard. I think this is going to be the third one they use in the last 2 weeks by Fox. We're moving in the right direction, I can say that, but I still am not a fan of it.
They say they want fans to be able to see the positions quicker, which makes sense, but when you don't know who's out of the race, who's a lap down, how far these drivers are behind, it just makes it really confusing to the people trying to keep track of the race and see what's going on. If you don't really know what's happening, because you don't know who's locked down, you know who's out of the race. You can see a driver in 43rd if there's no indication that they are out of the race. So that's I think the next move they have to make. But since it debuted on Saturday night with Brown, it's come a long way, and there's still some improvement. But like Fox saw the fans being not happy with it, and they've addressed
Yeah, I definitely give them props on making the adjustments, but I kind of go back to either you didn't test it properly or you didn't honestly think this one through. Like you said, step in the right direction, but what's up with those green and red arrows, especially at a restrictor plate track? Oh my goodness, that was going off the chart.
And it's hard to tell if it's even accurate, so you just see a bunch of arrows going around, you don't know what that really stands for, and they keep switching, so it's hard to tell. And I know I just stopped paying attention to it once I figured out that this is making pretty much no sense.
Yeah, I just go back to, I use the NASCAR.com scoring usually to kind of see what's going on. The only complaint I have with that kind of goes with what you were saying about the Fox one is it doesn't show if someone's out of the race, it just shows that they're X amount of laps behind. One of the hotter topics from the week, and it wasn't just the leaderboard for Fox, was the Budweiser duels, which the first race ran caution free, and then the second race was on its way to completion before all heck broke loose, including some acrobatics from Clint Boyer.
And I can officially say that when Clint Boyer flipped upside down at 360-degree turn in the air, I've officially seen the coolest thing in NASCAR ever.
That was pretty cool, especially how he was able to drive it back.
And he finished the race, and that seems to be his, when he flips at Daytona, he seems to be able to finish the race always, so go upside down, he's going to finish that race somehow. You see, and you saw his interview after, and it's just Clint thinking that was the coolest thing he's ever done, and I just can't get over the fact how cool it was. I keep saying that, but it was extremely, very cool to see.
And it's always interesting when drivers talk about when they flip is the fact that how silent the car goes once it gets off the ground.
The thing that triggered that whole wreck was Jimmy Johnson running out of gas, so that was something a six-time champion and Chad Knaus. That's a mistake that duo rarely makes, and for that to happen and for Johnson really to trigger that huge crash and really cost a lot of teams some money in a race car, it surprised me to see that.
I'm not willing to give into your theory that Johnson and them might be off on the restrictor plates this year, but I don't know. That's two races, the Unlimited and there, where they had errors that led to poor finishes. Obviously, if you're going to make that kind of bad call, I guess you could call it, do it in a race like the Duel, where it doesn't hurt you as much as if it was in the Daytona 500. I mean, heck, he still finished fifth in the 500.
Yes, and if we jump to the nationwide and Truck Series races from the weekend, you saw something new NASCAR implemented for their restrictor plate races this year, which is the no bumping rule. And that was NASCAR's attempt to stop the two-car tandems, which proved to be a little too dangerous and would be violent wrecks have occurred due to the tandems. So the new bump track rule really played a big role in both of those races, with big packs forming, as well as it was really hard to get to the lead and have the lead changes like we were accustomed to seeing that in those series, and see just one guy hang out front all day at Daytona. It really made the racing a little more predictable than we are used to seeing at restrictor plate races.
I liked it from the aspect of what you just said, that there was more packs being used and you didn't really know what was going to happen. I don't like it because how do you rule on that? And the perfect example was the only person that was called for pushing too long was James Buescher in the Nationwide Series race. And watching the video, it's hard to say because he's on the outside. They're trying to look through cars, trying to see if there's a little bit of space between him and the car in front of him. And I don't know, I hate these ball strike kind of calls that NASCAR puts themselves into, because now you kind of set the precedent. Well, is he pushing? Is he pushing too long? How long can they push? If someone taps someone, is that going to get called? It just, I don't know, it's a bad box that they put themselves into.
Another key part from the Nationwide Series races, the one wreck they had during the race was after the checkered flag when Dale Earnhardt Jr. pushed someone, and when Kyle Larson was falling down and got into the back, playing Larson up into the pack, causing a little bit of a wreck, but he was able to turn his nationwide performance around nicely for Sunday when he won the race, and along with that came a bunch of momentum, and that's, I think, one of the biggest things from his win.
Well, winning the 500 helps him right off the bat because he offered to actually help pay for some of those vehicles that were damaged, or at least send over equipment. So that's going to help his pocketbook. Bringing home, it was $1.5 million that he won Sunday night. But I got to agree with you. He was the hottest driver to close 2013. Some people thought that he couldn't carry it into 2014, and he definitely proved them wrong by pulling off the victory. And he carried so much momentum through from the weekend that he actually joined Twitter this week.
He's already sent some popular tweets out, but it was really cool to see him tweet, because he said before the race, if I win the race, I'm going to join Twitter. And that just seems like a statement driver say, because how unpredictable it's just play racing is, anything could happen. So, why not? I'll say I'll join Twitter. Then he says that he wins the race, he follows up on his bet, and tweets his best picture-taking ability, which is the selfie, and tweets a picture of him and the Daytona 500 trophy. That was his introduction to Twitter, but now he's all big on it. He's following a bunch of different drivers and all kinds of different people, and he's pretty good. He's almost close to 100 tweets within just about 3 or 4 days. So I think we can officially say he's addicted to Twitter, but it'll be interesting to see how he uses it throughout the season.
Yeah, I think he was chomping at the bit to join Twitter. He just needed an excuse, and he told David Letterman the other night that, he had been thinking about joining it, but you really can't come out on a Wednesday night and be like, hey, I'm on Twitter, let's talk, that sort of thing. So he kind of just needed a reason, I guess, to join, and hey, why not? Win the Daytona 500 and join Twitter? Sounds good.
And did you see the picture he tweeted out from the statue that Daytona has up? Did you see that one?
That was fantastic. I didn't have it written down in our notes, but, I've always wondered about Junior. He's gotten a little bit better talking about his dad as of late, but he kind of, I don't know how you describe it, kind of locked up all his emotions and put them away. So he you don't think that he reminisces or anything like that. So it was really cool to see him take that, I guess, faux picture of him and his dad, the statue they have at Daytona, kind of together, kind of a celebration thing.
That was so much emotion wrapped into one picture. You just see that his dad was smiling because Earnhardt Jr. won the 500, and he probably knew he won the race, and it was just so cool to see that moment. And for Earnhardt Jr., I wonder if he came up with that on his own, and it was just a really special picture, and I think it'll be probably one of the most popular ones in NASCAR for quite some time.
Yeah, that's going to be a very hard picture to beat. I got one that could maybe be in the discussion, but probably won't beat it. During the rain delay, David Reagan's wife took a picture of him holding about 15 boxes of Pizza Hut pizzas, walking out of Pizza Hut with them in full driver uniform.
That's probably something the restaurants outside the racetrack don't typically see drivers coming in the middle of the afternoon to get pizza, but it seems to be a common occurrence during rain delays. You saw last year during the Chicagoland rain delay, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. had gone to the Sonic in Chicago to get himself and his girlfriend Dan Patrick some food, as they were probably starving as they waited out the rain that day, and for more food to be bought and during another rain delay just shows you how hungry these drivers do get.
Hungry for wins and hungry for food. Well, your friend Samantha Bush baked some brownies during the rain delay.
I don't know if I saw the picture, but they were probably delicious as always. And I'd always love for her to bake me something, but that probably never happened for a while. Actually, everyone has some food during the 500 when you watch the race, and I made some brownies too, and I can tell you that they were pretty decent as well.
A very good snack for a very good race. So, Jason, we have this thing we call the power rankings that you kind of wing it, where I use an overly complicated formula. As we were talking earlier, it sounds like either way you cut it, there's 3 drivers to consider for the power rankings.
You've got, of course, you have to include the 500 winner with the most momentum right now, Dale Earnhardt Jr. He tops our rankings, and just the whole win is going to give him so much really strength going into the season, and that's why you have to include him in the power ranking talk for this week. And then you have Denny Hamlin, who just had a stellar speed week and won just about everything until Sunday, and he also has probably a ton of momentum, and he's probably really ready to get into the season going and finishing out our top 3 rankings
Yeah, those are definitely three drivers that needed to come out and make a statement in the Daytona 500 about how they're improving themselves over kind of dismal 2013s, and they came out and did it, definitely.
And we'll look for all three of those drivers to be close to victory lane this weekend at Phoenix, and Phoenix offers the second race of the season to really restart for drivers to really get into the season, and a few new things coming up include the qualifying format, which the Truck Series was rained out, so then gets run. Michelin Series partially ran it at Daytona. Now the Cup Series will make their debut with the new system, and we saw how interesting it was over the Nationwide Series, and that was a restricted play track, but it was just a bunch of games and a bunch of really things we're not used to seeing in qualifying. So I think I'm saying this for the first time in quite some time. Qualifying's a must-watch this weekend.
Yeah, for once, qualifying actually is interesting to fans as opposed to just, helping you set your fantasy driver list. Yeah, it'll be. I wonder how much of a difference it'll make for drivers being out in kind of a pack situation as opposed to just being themselves on the track.
In the pack, I think they can really control how much speed they can give their car if they're coming up on another group and really gaining some speed, or they're running by themselves and not really going that fast. But when you go to the non-restricted play tracks or the out the draft thing, it's going to be just go as far as you can, like a normal qualifying, but just watch out for the other drivers on the track, because you definitely don't want to have your weekend ruined by wrecking in qualifying.
Wondering if drivers who race better would benefit from this versus some drivers that tend to qualify better. One thing we can watch for is to kind of see what we've been building up here. Dale Earnhardt Jr. has been a big story. Can he come out and win at Phoenix, or will he come out a little flat from the hectic week that he's had after winning the 500?
It's really difficult to say, because you can't really tell with him how he's going to rebound from different situations, but I think he'll come out somewhat strong. He won't be dominating the race. He probably won't win, but I think he'll be probably top 5, top 10 on Sunday.
Yeah, he's a former winner at the track. I believe he's got 2 career wins there, and he did good last year to close the season, so it'll be a good test to see how he can rebound and if he can keep kind of the mojo going. We did compile a list here of 4 drivers that definitely need to rebound very much so after dismal Daytona performances. Martin Truex Jr. Finished 43rd. You can't honestly get any worse than his finish was. The only benefit to finishing that far down is he actually got to beat the rain delay and get home afterwards. So he's going to definitely need a great run out in Phoenix to kind of get out from the hole that he's been dug into.
Daytona weekend started out so well with getting the outside front row, but after really troubles before the rain even came, really put him down, and he's going to have to dig out a few other drivers to dig out from bad performances, including Tony Stewart, who had an engine issue, I believe, and really let's take his chance to really come back really strong and take the victory work taken out pretty early into the resumed race, and they also for Clint Boyer, who has engine issues as well, and he typically doesn't stay quiet for too long, so you will have to watch for him to possibly come out and contend for the victory. And you also got Casey Kane, who had been out of the greatest Daytona. These first 2 races are usually pretty good for him. He finished second in Las Vegas last year. Phoenix isn't an awful track for him, and he won Bristol, so if he wants some momentum going to a few of his better tracks, a good performance is crucial this weekend.
Yeah, Kane's definitely one that needs to get off to a better start. I don't have the stats in front of me, but it seems like the last couple of years he's just been absolutely terrible in the first 5 or 6 races. Few shining moments like last year at Vegas. Gets so far down in points that he has to spend most of the year trying to claw his way back in.
If he wants to contend for that championship, his first championship this year, he needs to really overturn that trend and get going right now if he wants any shot at making the chase and being a legitimate contender.
So it's the Profit on CNBC 500. Interesting race name. Who do you got pulling home the victory?
I have to go with Denny Hamlin. Phoenix is a strong track for him, and the momentum he's carrying from Daytona can only do him well, and Monty Rex are getting in trouble early in the race. I see him around as a
Yeah, if you could go 2 for 2, I'm going to be in trouble with our pick'em. That's why I'm going with Jimmy Johnson, who leads pretty much every statistical category at Phoenix, and so just have to be silly not to pick the guy that stats say should win. And a reminder, with what Jason just said about picking the winner and what we just did here, if you go to startinparkblog.com, click on the Pick'em tab, enter your picks for this weekend's races, the Nationwide and the Sprint Cup Series race. So even if you didn't even play at Daytona, you can still get in on the action. We're going to have some bad days. You're going to have some good days, so it all will even out and you can stay in the thick of the battle there.
Thanks for listening to the Fan3Cast. For more NASCAR coverage, check out startinparkblog.com and turn4racingnews.com. Follow along on Twitter at Fan3Cast, at startinparkblog, and at NASCARJason.